ultimately I need to see what a student's authentic self is. If this academic interest is your absolute authentic passion and love, then there has to be a way the application can reveal that.
So, is there any stereotypes in your head for some kind of applicants? For example, a typical STEM student might be.
Part of my work, I felt like as an admission officer, and still when I work with students in any capacity, is to try and erase any of those that might exist.
That's so true. Not label them.
That really is my job, not label them. A student who really excels in math or science might obviously also want to be in the robotics team. There's things you tend to see together as a constellation more often than not with certain students who align with certain areas of interest. But I try to see them sort of as themes rather than stereotypes.
The context of typical STEAM male students in China, they are often stereotyped as someone who are skilled at competitions, exams, and achieve a strong academic performance in STEM subject. From your perspective, what specific non-academic engagement or experience tend to make them stand out in the application process?
If a student really is quite a powerhouse in what they are in terms of how they can excel in a level of competition or academic area where they're excelling far beyond their peers in that way, that's obviously going to help them, and it's worth noting. For the most part, lots of students are in competitions, are performing well. Is there something else? And it doesn't even have to align with those academic interests, but ultimately I need to see what a student's authentic self is. If this academic interest is your absolute authentic passion and love, then there has to be a way the application can reveal that. It has to come through in writing, in their recommendations.
Yes.
And how do they speak about the things that they love? How do they write about the things that mean?
Throughout your years as a college admission officer, have there been any particular memorable student activities that have left a lasting impression on you?
There's a student that stands out to me, thought was pretty extraordinary in that she had done a lot of activism work in her community, and sort of, again, not glamorous work, but knocking on doors to get people to vote, a lot of attending community meetings, making hundreds of phone calls, things that really showed a deep commitment to her community and to the well-being of people in her community. She ended up designing a mural and helping to paint it with others in her city, and then one in her school that had a pretty specific and meaning and impactful sort of message around the social issues that she was working on in her community. She was able to speak very directly to sort of her learning process and how doing that work helped her to understand her family in their journey to the US better. The way she was able to write about the meaning of those things and how her growth. And then I had another student who was an outstanding trombonist, and everything truthfully on her application almost was about the trombone. And it was brilliant. She was, in the youth symphony. She was the president of the band. The band was quite significant, right? So the fundraising responsibilities beyond that, the meeting among peers was significant. But truthfully, music was her love, and it was everywhere. And it was even things like her supplement answers, where it was, if you could meet anyone from the past, present, or future, who would it be? And she wanted to meet sort of the women who played in the brass bands when all the men were away at war during World War II.
Wow.
And it was right. But that to me was something really unique. And at first I thought, that's really who you'd want to meet. And then I thought, this is brilliant. But she listed sort of all these questions she'd want to ask them. It's like, what does it feel to finally play this music, and for this reason, and the sound of their instruments? And she was deeply invested into something she had become extraordinary at, and she loved deeply. And she taught and she mentored younger musicians. So it kind of came out in these leadership roles. That's my long with it. It's interesting to think about all the things students have done. Yeah.